welcome everybody to this online forum for candidates for various seats in Warner. I would love to be there in person doing this live the way we usually do in your wonderful town, but we're going to have to do it this way this year. I'll remind you that voting session is Tuesday. The Warner Town Hall will be open from 7 in the morning till 7 at night for your ballots. Masks are required. There will be an alternative voting setup somewhere in the town offices for those unable or unwilling to wear a mask. And if you are concerned about COVID exposure or you have other reasons for wanting to vote absentee, you may get an absentee ballot application from the town clerk. There is also one on the town clerk's website. Just realize that the absentee ballots, once you get them, must be received by 5 p.m. on election day in order to be counted. And your town meeting has been postponed to May 1st, starting at 9 a.m. That's your in-person town meeting at a place to be determined. So tonight we have candidates for the select board, 1-year term, for the 3-year term on the budget committee, and for the 3-year term on what's called the municipal budget committee. That's the school district budget committee. I'm going to start by explaining that normally we do not include in the forum candidates who are unopposed. When we set this up, there were 2 candidates for that 1-year term on the select board, Samuel Bauer, who is here with us this evening, and Jody Sloan. And since then, since we announced this forum, Jody Sloan has withdrawn. However, the ballots have been printed. Her name is still on there. And for that reason, we felt it was important that Mr. Bauer have an opportunity to speak, even though Jody Sloan has withdrawn. So Mr. Bauer will be able to address you. The Budget Committee has 2 seats for the 3-year term and 3 candidates. And right now, Harold Blanchett has not come on the panel. We were expecting him, so if he comes on later, Elliot Cunningham, who is running the mechanics for us tonight, thank you, Elliot, will let Harold in and he'll certainly have an opportunity to speak. But running for that budget committee with us tonight are Michelle Kendrick and Erica Reynolds. And then for the 3-year term on the Kearsarge Regional School District Budget Committee, Michelle Kendrick and Joseph Mendola are running for those seats. Oh, and Mr. Blanchett has just come on, so we're happy that he is here to join us. The candidates will have a short time to give a little opening statement. Voters have sent questions in, which I will ask, and the candidates will have an opportunity to answer them. And then there'll be time for a short closing statement. This will be a 1-hour forum, and if your friends and neighbors miss it, you can tell them they can watch it on Yankee Cable Network or on the Yankee Cable Network website. And it's going to be aired on Saturday, and it will be on the website for the next several days. All right, let's get started. Running for the 1-year term on the select board is Samuel Bauer. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Mr. Bauer.
Thank you for having me, Liz. You all know my name is Sam Bauer. I've lived in Warner my whole life. I was born here. I went through our school system, through the Simons Elementary School and the Kearsarge Regional School District. I attended the University of New Hampshire, where I graduated with a degree in horticulture and animal science, and did a small part-time project studying small farm management. Today, I work full-time on my family's farm here in Warner. We grow organic vegetables and also run a small business on Main Street, the Warner Public Market. I've been a member of the town zoning board of adjustment for around 2 years, and just recently was appointed to the select board, where I've participated for the last 3 or 4 months, maybe. I was thrown in during budget season, and things were, the learning curve was steep, but I've enjoyed my time, and I'm hoping to and looking forward to continuing on the select board. Thank you, Liz.
Thank you, Mr. Bauer. And now let's hear from the candidates for the town budget committee. And I'm just going to go in the order they are on my paper here. We'll scramble it up later. Michelle Kendrick, would you go first, please, and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Hello, my name is Michelle Kendrick. I was also born and raised here in Warner, New Hampshire. And after I graduated from high school, I attended UNH. I received my master's in accounting. I've worked as a public accountant doing auditing, tax and financial planning for large companies, credit unions, car dealerships, that kind of thing. Now I'm the accounting manager for a local small manufacturing company in New London. I think I'm a good fit for the municipal budget committee, given my experience and my desire to help out our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kendrick. Erica Reynolds, also running for the 3-year term on the budget committee.
Hi, I'm Erica. Thanks for hosting us. I am a Mainer, born and raised. I moved to New Hampshire with my husband maybe 14 years ago. I attended the University of New England in medical biology and was a surgical assistant at Dartmouth Hitchcock for most of my career until COVID hit. I am a type 1 diabetic, so I could no longer be involved directly with patient care. And for the past year, I have worked on a farm here in town, and I'm a logger as well. My husband did pass away almost 2 years ago, so I'm a full-time working single mom, and I am the secretary on the WISA board, and I'm looking to become more involved in the community, and I'm looking to learn and grow and see our community grow.
Thank you very much, Ms. Reynolds. And Harold Blanchett, also running for the budget committee. Tell us a little about yourself, Mr. Blanchett. You have to unmute yourself, sir. You're still muted. Down.
There we go.
There
Can
we
you hear me now?
Yes. Sometimes we need the glasses to figure that out.
Oh, this technology stuff is, I'm trying to keep up. I really am.
All right.
I actually grew up in Webster. Spent most of my life in Webster. I was superintendent of public works for the town of Hopkinton for 11 years, which I put in 27 years with the town. I've been on various boards with that. I was on the zoning board of adjustment for the town of Webster for a short period of time. I just filled in. I was an alternate on the planning board of the town of Webster. I do enjoy helping and working with local people and just being able to help out. I'm looking forward to any type of help I can do with the town of Warner, regardless whether it's a budget or roads or I have a lot of municipal background. I guess that's about it.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Blanchett. And then
I just wanted to add, most people know me as Herm. 75% of the people that know me will call me Herm.
okay, there's probably a story there, but all right, I'll just make a little note to myself here.
Sure.
Thank you. Thank you. Now, the Kearsarge Regional School District has its own budget committee, for some reason called the Municipal Budget Committee, even though it's for the school. And there is a 3-year term representing Warner. Joseph Mendola, would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself in terms of running for that seat?
Sure. I just want to set the record straight. I was at Market Basket tonight and went up to the deli department, and the server asked if I was a Catholic priest. And I told him, no, I just have a white collar on tonight. So I want to set everybody at ease with that. I've been a resident of Warner for 15 years. And 30 years prior to that, I was a resident of Amherst, New Hampshire, where I served on the Ways and Means Committee and on the committee that I think put together the first trophy high school in the state of New Hampshire, which is known as Salhegan West. In those days, it was nothing was spared in terms of building those amazing buildings. So my background in terms of education and finance goes back a few years. I have the distinction of being a member of the Kearsarge School Board for the years 2014 to 2017. And during that time, I poured over each and every line item in the budget for those 3 years. And also during that time, I was appointed to the committee that negotiated the teacher's contract at that time. Also, I was appointed by the board to be the representative to the committee that I'm running for right now, the Municipal Budget Committee. So I have extensive experience in just about every line item in that budget. I know how to read it. I know what's good and what maybe can change. And so what I'm interested in doing is making sure that the taxpayers' money is spent wisely and that we provide sufficient funding to educate our children, which is of paramount importance to me. So have an opportunity to give back. Schools and education is a real hot button issue with me, and I look forward to contributing to that group on the committee once again.
Thank you, Mr. Mendola. And Ms. Kendrick, is there anything you would add specific to the role on the school budget committee?
Just that I've got children that are in the school district. My son is 8 and my daughter's about to be 6. So I've got kids that are young that'll be going up through the system, which means I've got a long time to to deal with what happens here in the school. And I really care a lot about how the school is funded and to make sure that our kids have proper education for everybody, not just those who have a lot of money or other family connections that get them into good schools, but just every public school has funding that it needs.
All right, thank you, Ms. Kendrick. So those were our opening statements. Now, a couple of questions that have come in from the voters apply to all of you. And I'm going to start with one of them. We're going to try to keep our answers down to about 1.5 minutes if we can. What do you think are the top citizen concerns in Warner, and what would you specifically do to help with that? Let's look at the Town Budget Committee, and Herm, would you like to go first on that one, please?
Sure. I would assume that one of the top things is and I've gone through this with my mom, is the older generation has the way the inflation has come up through the past few years. How am I trying to say this? We want to try to get the best out of what we get for the money that we're paying for all of our voters, not just, but it's tough on the seniors who have a fixed income budget that don't really use the services as much as some of the other folks. But it's the biggest thing is educating people on what what their needs are and what everything costs. I guess that's how you would say it.
All right, thank you, Mr. Blanchett. Ms. Reynolds, what do you see as one of the top citizen concerns in Warner?
I definitely feel that, like Herm said, whether it's inflation, but our increasing taxes, and where that money is being spent, in terms of the sidewalks and road maintenance, the school. I think, it really, we have to focus in on what we do need, so that we can allocate the money appropriately and cut back in other places so that we don't continue to watch our taxes increase so much every year.
Thank you. Ms. Kendrick, what do you think are the top voter concerns here in Warner?
Well, we're going to sound like a broken record, but
Well,
I hear a lot about people complaining about the tax rate and taxes on our homes. I hear a lot of people concerned that they feel like they're going to be taxed out of their homes. They're not going to be able to afford taxes anymore once they're retired, and the tax rates keep going up to help cover the costs of everything that seems to be getting more and more expensive. Yeah, so I think that's a very important thing to keep in mind as we work on budgets for our town.
thank you, Ms. Kendrick. And Mr. Bauer, from a point of view of the select board, do you see something other than taxes as a concern that you've heard people express that you feel you want to address in some way?
Well, there are a few things that come to my mind immediately. I mean, we know that we're facing the COVID-19 pandemic, and that's obviously one thing that residents and folks in town are hoping to try to move past and find ways to get through it that are smart and healthy and productive. And in some ways, it's a bit of an opportunity to look at how the town in general wants to move forward, looking towards a greener future and a more sustainable town, being more self-reliant. I think a lot of these things can actually help in some of those cost of living sides of things. And I think it's kind of like looking at the master plan and where the town wants to go and where the folks and the voters and residents in town are hoping to see Warner be in 30, 40, 50 years, and making sure that our town is affordable and we can live in it and we can be part of that transition from now to what we want to see in the future.
Thank you. And I'm going to change the question just a little bit for those of you running for the school budget committee. Mr. Bauer mentioned the COVID crisis, and obviously this has impacted the schools. What do you see as your role on the budget committee in terms of dealing with the after effects, I mean, the present effects and the after effects of the COVID crisis in the schools? Mr. Mandola, what do you see in that connection?
Yeah, I guess whether it's the coronavirus or just the actual fiscal year going through, one of the things when I was on the school board we always wanted to do was to not have spikes up or deep cuts down, and try to keep the budget process on a level plane. And I think the key word is balance. We need the balance to be cognizant of the many retirees we have in the town who may be living on fixed incomes. And then we have to balance that with properly educating our children. So that's what we've always tried to do in the past. And in my conversations with Superintendent Fenneberg at the time, we were pretty much on the same page there. The challenge that we have to really look at is that we have declining enrollment. And so when you have declining enrollment, we have to be cognizant of the fact that we can't be having budgets going up in a disproportionate manner to the population in the schools.
Thank you. And Ms. Kendrick, whether you want to address it as COVID or the more general pattern of declining enrollment in the state, how do you see that impacting your work on the budget committee? What is your philosophy in terms of that in the schools?
Well, first I want to talk a little bit about the COVID and how it's affected the school. I've been talking with the superintendent recently and asked him how the pandemic has affected them as it goes to costs. He said basically in the beginning, there was an increase in costs for like masks, shields, and cleaning. Also meals for students during the summer. There are a lot of expenses like that. However, the CARES Act funding, when that came in, has basically covered all of that. So the school budget hasn't really been affected too much by the pandemic, luckily this year. Going forward, the declining student population, I don't think we need to make our schools smaller. I think we need to make our town and our region a better place to live, have some better housing to bring families in, more affordable housing to bring more families in, have bring companies in that want to build here and hire people. That will help increase the amount of people that are here, the students in the schools, and the tax base.
Thank you. I'm going to ask you another school budget committee question because we got several of these. Currently, there is only one preschool that's affiliated with our school district. Excuse me. And that is in New London, James House. What do you think might be done to expand preschool opportunities? And might there be an opportunity to have a preschool in what's called the southern part of the Kearsarge district? Ms. Kendrick, would you like to address that first?
Sure. I think preschool is really important. I think it's a great instrument to help kids learn vital skills before they head off to school, skills such as taking turns and conflict resolution. I know that when my daughter was younger, we just couldn't wait to get her into preschool so that she could learn how to share, wait her turn, and that the rules that we have aren't just for, mommy and daddy's rules that are because we're mean, but the rules of society. So I think preschool is really important. It's also a great resource for parents, whether they're working or not. I think it's really important to have a place to bring your kids and have someone to teach them when they're young. So I think if it's something that after we do a study that's something that we could use here in town or in the southern part of the district, I think that'd be a really good thing.
Mr. Mendola, your views on a possible additional preschool to serve sort of the southern towns in the district?
Yeah, that would be a desirable thing. As Michelle said, preschools are an important part of the process. We just have to, I know when I was on the school board, we struggled to find the proper place and the of putting something like that together. It's not an inexpensive thing to do. So as Superintendent Fenneberg or the school board would raise an opportunity to have school boards, preschool down here in the southern tier, it's something we need to look at and be willing to finance it if it's done at a reasonable cost.
Thank you. And I think the next question can actually go to all of you. The New Hampshire House of Representatives recently killed a bill that would partially reinstate the 5% state contribution to the amount that school districts and towns pay into the New Hampshire State Retirement System for their employees. Our local representatives voted in favor of killing that bill. And the questioner asks, I have not verified this, that would have saved Kearsarge taxpayers $1 million that now have to be raised through local property taxes. So what's your view of the possibility of the legislature paying more of that retirement rather than it all fall on the local district? Mr. Bauer, may I ask you first, please?
I would say I'm a bit unfamiliar with this, but that obviously retirement, I mean, I work with I work with both my parents every day. They're in and above their 70s. And retirement, I think, is something that all families can use help with. And if it's a collective good to help some of us prepare for when we get older, I think that that's vitally important, and I think it's something that we should be working towards.
Thank you. And Ms. Kendrick, from either the school or the town point of view, you can address this.
Yeah, I mean, quite frankly, both ways, it's kind of the same.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty foolish and short-sighted, actually, to vote for cutting funding at the state level for our schools. And then, quite frankly, complain about it on Facebook, as she has, that our taxes are going to go up because of the schools. And I think that they presume that local voters aren't smart enough to realize that cutting funding at the state level will require us to increase taxes at the local level. As being an accountant, you know that you have to have your debits equal your credits, so you can't reduce something somewhere without having to increase the funding somewhere else. So it's just that simple. I think it's kind of foolish.
Ms. Reynolds, what do you think about this? Should the state be paying more towards this retirement account? There you are.
There we go.
Thank
yes, I agree with Sam and Michelle. I do think the state should be contributing. Our teachers work incredibly hard to provide our kids with an excellent education and care throughout their childhood at any level. And they, whether they contribute themselves or not, given their salaries, it is something that the state should contribute to for the long term, to support the community within the state. It needs to support its people that live here.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Blanchett?
Well, I think given the times that we're in, the state should contribute and work with these towns more than what I think they have been. Unfortunately, with the COVID thing has created a whole different problem or project to what we're dealing with. But I do, however, think that the biggest piece to our longevity is our children. And if we don't put into the kids, we're not going to get it out in 20 years. So.
Thank you. Mr. Mandola, how about the 5% contribution to the retirement system or other funding?
I guess I'd have to take a look and see how much the state contributes right now, but in New Hampshire, I believe the state should play a more active role in contributing to the educational cost of our children, and to take some of that burden off local communities.
All right, thank you. I'm going to switch gears a bit here. If you're elected, one thing is being accessible to the voters, to your constituents. How would you make that happen? How would you be open to representing all the citizens of Warner and letting them express their concerns to you? Oh, let's see. Let's start with Mr. Blanchett on that one.
To let the citizens express their concerns to me, I would like to try to get more people involved with open meetings, with just trying to channel our being. From my background that I've had, the more information you can give to the public before you go to town meeting, before you approach anything, the more information the people have, the more time they have to decide on what they want to do. So I guess I'd have to say to open up any type of information that you can give to the public.
Okay, Ms. Kendrick, do you have any specific ideas of how you might communicate with your constituents?
Yeah, well, I use email, Facebook. For work, we use things like Microsoft Teams and Zoom. So I'm open to hearing from people in all those sorts of ways. My one thing I'd really want to make sure of is that I don't only hear from the squeaky wheels, the people who want to change things when everyone else likes it the way it is, or vice versa. I would really want to make sure that I hear from a wide group of people in town and not just a few, to make sure that everyone is heard and not just, like I said, a few people who have certain ideas.
I think every town has its squeaky wheels. I know mine does. Yes. I'm one of them frequently. That's right. Ms. Reynolds, do you have any specific ideas of how you can communicate with all the people, as Ms. Kendrick and Mr. Blanchett implied?
Well, like Michelle, I think social media is the easiest way, given COVID and the lack of in-person meetings. I am a member on several groups on Facebook involving the town and involving politics. And I think that is a great avenue to get information out there, as well as receive comments and field questions for anyone in the town that has concerns. And I hope, if elected, to be able to get an increased amount of information out there about things that are being brought to the floor or before they get to the floor, so that the decisions can be made before that point.
Thank you, Ms. Reynolds. Mr. Mendola, do you have any ideas about communication?
Yeah, it's obviously very important, and I'll go back to the old-fashioned way. I do have a telephone, and my phone number is in the book, so that's the easiest way, I think, for people to reach me. I do have a Facebook page and email address, and so one of the things that'd be interesting, and you have to look beyond this COVID thing, because the vaccines here, we're going to come out of this, and so I want to look beyond that, since the term is a 3-year term. If there is a constant concern or issue coming up, I would not be opposed, and basically would appreciate the opportunity to have an in-person meeting at the town hall. So we have to look beyond COVID-19 and be able to be available to anyone who has concerns.
All right. And Mr. Bauer, what do you think in terms of the entire select board, since meetings are not as open as they were, in live days, but how would you reach out to those people who wouldn't even normally come to a select board meeting in order to communicate better with you about the town?
Well, I would say that the Zoom meetings for the select board, we've actually had great attendance. The numbers have definitely been up. It's an easy way to access a meeting. You can do it from your home for most folks. Now, the easiest way to be in touch and to be in contact with myself personally, I do a lot of things right on Main Street, Warner. And I grew up with my dad, who started the Warner area farmers market. And in the past, I've been doing the Concord Farmers Market on Saturdays. I have been hoping to come back to Warner and start doing the Saturday Warner Farmers Market. And I'm also available every Sunday at the Warner Public Market, also right on Main Street. I also like to participate in a lot of the local events that go on. I believe maybe Michelle is sometimes involved in the softball league that they play down at the park, and I'm crossing my fingers that Joe is right, that we're going to come out of this thing eventually. And telephone, email, join the select board meetings if possible on Zoom, and if all else fails, come to the farmers market or the Warner Public Market on Sundays.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Bauer. We know where to find you now. Let's try a different question. I'll start first with from the town perspective. Is there a town service or department that you would like to see improved or expanded? And how might that be possible? Let's start with, let's see, Ms. Reynolds on this one, please.
Well, I can think of two things come to mind. Having been in on some recent planning board meetings regarding the agriculture versus agritourism, you know, I think there were multiple suggestions of formulating an agricultural committee to sort of oversee these type of things. And to really focus on those sort of things, being that we do have a large number of farms in our area, and that is how people earn a living. I think that's a really great idea. I also have a brief outsider view of experience regarding our town maintenance department. And the way things are overseen, I think, could definitely use a bit of revamping and some guidance and some clear decision making and accountability.
All right, thank you, Ms. Reynolds. Mr. Blanchett, is there a town service or department that you would like to see either expanded or improved? And any general ideas of how to do that?
Well, I've only been in town since December. Like I said, I lived in Webster. Webster doesn't have a lot of town services per se. I've heard a lot of talk about a new sidewalk that's going in down from the village to the shopping down by Market Basket. My main concern is if you build something, you better have the money or the know-how to maintain it. There's a lot of things that being in my profession that I've seen that have been done or built and not had that proper maintenance to maintain it. As far as any services in town right now, like I said, I've been here since December. I can't really say, to be honest.
That's fair. Thank you. Mr. Bauer, what do you think of? And you've been on the select board now for a few months, as a town service or department that either needs improvement or expansion?
I think that all places can always use improvement. I would like to say that the department heads have been really, really fantastic. And I think that everybody is really working their best and doing a good job at trying to do what's best for the town. If there's a little pet project for myself, it's in the emergency management department. And coming through COVID, one of the things working in agriculture that concerned me was that the Market Basket shelves ran dry for a little while, and it was hard to find vegetables and it was hard to find meat. And I'm wondering if the emergency management department might be able to find a way to make a seed bank or a seed library for the town of Warner. I don't think that we're ever going to be able to grow enough vegetables to feed 3,000 people every day. But if it would be a nice thing, at least, to have enough seeds set aside that we could grow food for the majority of the town. So that's one spot that maybe I could see that I think needs improvement.
Thank you. And Ms. Kendrick, either from the town or the school perspective, some department or service that you would like to see improved or expanded?
Well, there's a service that I was thinking of, maybe some public transportation for the elderly in the area. I know my grandparents live down in the Seacoast area, and there's a bus that goes around like once or twice a day that brings them to different shops so they can get their medications, go grocery shopping and that kind of thing. My husband does the food pantry deliveries sometimes every week. And, you know, there's some people who live in town who get these deliveries that could probably benefit from having some sort of public transportation to get in places that they need to go. Doesn't need to be something that's going all the time, but just have a good schedule to have that. Another thing I would like to see is maybe a community space for learning, whether it be doing some sort of courses or classes for people in town. It could be, you know, my love, accounting. I could do some sort of tax class. We could have someone do a knitting class in town, or we have, you know, Sam and his family do maybe how to plant a garden or when to plant a garden. I would love to have a public space in town that has that kind of thing where community members teach what they know and spread that knowledge throughout our town.
Thank you. And Mr. Mandola, either town or school, what do you see as a department or service that you might like to see improved or expanded?
Yeah, well, from the town's perspective, I'm pretty happy with it. I said I'm a member of the Warner Men's Club, and we get pretty involved in delivering the food pantry goods to people who are challenged with transportation and may not have sufficient funds for gasoline and things of that nature. So you know, that kind of volunteer effort is really alive and well in the town, and I'm really pretty much happy with what's going on there, and proud to be a member of this community.
All right, thank you. I have a question for the two school budget committee candidates that a voter sent in. Do you have a position on the plans to expand the Kearsarge High School building in order to provide more vocational education in district rather than all students having to be bused to Concord for the CTE programs? Ms. Kendrick, would you address that, please?
All right, so I think there are a lot of really good jobs in our area for someone that has vocational skills. The company I work for is always looking for another production technician who has different manual skills, including soldering, which is hard to find in this area for some reason. A contact at Hypotherm said that they're always looking for employees that can do assembly, machine operations, as well as workers who know how to operate and manage the increasing robotics in manufacturing. So he also said that there's a grant program for high schools that offer metal fabrication courses and welding courses. So if this is something that our school could move into, that they have grants there to help schools put those into the high schools. There are other tech companies that have openings for all sorts of production stuff like mechanical assembler and machinist. These are good local jobs, and to keep these companies here in our town, we should teach our children how to do these vocational skills, how to teach them those vocational skills. If we have enough people who are interested in learning this, then I think that we should do the work in the high school to increase for that.
Thank you. Mr. Mandola, what do you think about expanding the high school to include more vocational education? Would you on the budget committee support a plan to do that?
Well, you know, the Concord Regional Technical School that we're attending right now is extremely valuable. It's an excellent school system. It takes a tremendous amount of capital to fund that with proper equipment, with proper teachers and things of that nature. And again, I think we need to be mindful of especially the people in town who are on fixed incomes, to put forth funds at this time without taking a closer look at it, the capital expenditure to bring that back into the Kearsarge district, I think would be a real burden at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Mandola. I've got some other questions that were directed to the school budget committee, but they seem more like for the actual school committee, rather than the budget committee. So I'm going to hold those. If we have time, I may come back to them. And most of you have mentioned some way in which you've been active in Warner's civic life. Is there one particular thing that you feel you were of service to the town that you're particularly proud of? And just a short answer, maybe just 1 minute on this. Ms. Reynolds, could you answer that one first, please?
I think my active participation in WISA, our Youth Sports Association, is probably what I'm most proud of, whether it be helping with the decision-making process in terms of athletic events for our kids, or volunteering at the lemonade stand that we have every year at Fall Foliage Festival. Hopefully when that comes back, you'll see me there again, or picking up trash at the Fall Foliage. I think I'm really proud to say that I am a contributing member that helps grow our community's youth.
Thank you. I think we all missed the Fall Foliage Festival this year, didn't we? It just didn't feel right without it. Mr. Bauer, how about you? How have you been active in Warner's civic life in a way that you're particularly proud of?
I participate, I think, and I'm proud of that in general. I'm proud to still be living in the town, and I'm just happy to have learned everything that I have from the folks that I meet and that I have met and that I've known for a long time. Maybe the most recent thing was I was pretty proud of helping on voting day, checking the voter registers. I was pretty proud of that.
Thank you for doing that, because we had a lot of older people who usually did that who shouldn't have been doing it this year. So we appreciate it when you did that. Ms. Kendrick, what are you particularly proud of in the way you've served your town?
Well, kind of like Sam, I've done a lot of little things around town since we've moved back. We just moved back a couple of years ago after being gone for a few years. So some of the things I've done to volunteer here in school, here in town, is I've volunteered at the elementary school, both in the classroom as well as the special event days, field days, and that kind of thing. I've also volunteered to do the counting of the votes this year, which is really exciting. It was fun to do that. We'd never done it before, and I thought, oh, let's step up. So that was fun. And then I also volunteered for the Fall Foliage Festival the prior year as well. Putting out trash cans, picking up trash, and doing whatever else it was that they needed to do. And it was really fun. It was great to see the festival from the different side.
Okay, Mr. Blanchett, you might want to refer to your time in Webster since you haven't been here that long, but that's fine.
Well, actually, I was 4 miles away from Warner,
Right.
and a few years ago, I pulled oxen, so I used to help out at the Fall Foliage with the ox pulling. So I guess that's probably all I can add, but I'm willing to do anything to help people out.
Thank you. Mr. Mandola?
Yeah, this whole idea of food insecurity, it just blows me away. I have a very difficult time getting my arms around that in a prosperous state like New Hampshire. So my membership and working with the Warner Men's Club, I got great pleasure in basically delivering meals and food. You don't see these people a lot in town. They're kind of under the radar, but there are a number of people in this town who are desperately in need of food and don't have the either the transportation or whatever to actually come to the food pantry. So to be able to deliver that just as it's my part for striking down this notion that there's food insecurity in the state. I'm also on the board of the the New Hampshire Children's Trust, and I'm working hard on that. One of our organizations is up in Claremont, which is as close to Warner as we get, and we're working with families there just to make sure that food insecurity is not an issue there.
Thank you. And I do want to make sure we have enough time for each of you to give a closing statement. And I see we've got 10 minutes left and there are 6 of you. So I think I'm going to stop with my questions and ask you in just a minute, minute and a half, if you could describe why you feel very well qualified for the position you're running for. And is there anything else you would like to tell voters at this time that makes them think you're the right person for the job? So I'm going to go in reverse order from the opening statements, if I can figure out what that was. Okay, sorry, my notes are not great here. I do better in person. Ms. Kendrick, would you go first, please?
Sure, why not?
Thank you.
So again, I'm from this area, and I was asked to run for both of these positions by different people. This isn't something that I went out and looking for glory or status or anything crazy like that. I'm not here to push any sort of agenda or anything. I want to be here to help out our community that I care about. I want to be part of this next generation that steps forward and helps our community and helps our small town change and grow the way it needs to survive in today's world. As an auditor, I've worked over 80 hours a week for months at a time, year after year. So I'm not afraid of some hard work to put into this. And I just want to make sure that someone who has the best interests of the town, of the students, the educators at heart, fills this position, both of these positions, quite frankly. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kendrick. Mr. Mandola, tell us why people should vote for you.
Yeah, thank you, Liz. I think the most important thing is that the fact that I've been on the school board for 3 years, and for 3 years I've poured over these budgets and worked with the committee that I'm running to be a member of. It's tedious work, it's time consuming, and you really have to focus in on what you're doing. And I just think that since I am just running for one budget committee, the school committee, I can devote a sufficient amount of my time and energy to making sure that that job gets well done and that I can contribute and give back to our community.
Thank you, Mr. Mandola. And Mr. Bauer, what about you? Why should people vote for you for this position? And is there anything else you'd like to add?
I would just hope that people would vote for me because I care a lot about what is going on in Warner. I care deeply. I've lived here my whole life. I'm going to do what I can do to be available to people to come see me and talk to me personally. And I, from the brief period that I've been on the board, I've really enjoyed it. And I can tell that there's a lot to learn, but I'm eager to learn it, and I really will do what I think is best for the town. And so I would hope that people would vote for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bauer. Ms. Reynolds.
So I actually don't have a lot of experience being on a budget committee, but my son was 2 when we moved here, and we chose this community to raise our family and to establish roots. And I plan on being here for the long term, and I really want to invest in this community and see it grow and develop in the direction that we want it to. And I really want to devote my time in participating and being a part of the community.
Thank you. And Mr. Blanchett, if I may call you Herm tonight for my last
Tell me whatever you want.
Tell the voters, please, why they should vote for you and anything else you'd like to share with them in this closing statement.
Well, regardless of whether they vote for me or somebody else, I'm here to help the town out. I have a lot of experience in municipal government. I enjoy educating people and helping people, working with people on different, whether it be their, just the budgets, the I mean, everything. I enjoy helping people. So I hope I can be an asset to the town of Warner, and anything I can do in the future.
All right. Well, I want to thank you all very much for participating in this. I want to thank Sarah McNeil, Warner resident, who organized this forum and the Newbury Forum. She's a member of the board of the local League of Women Voters. And I want to thank Elliot Cunningham, who is offering his technical expertise to make this work. And it looks like it worked well. Nobody froze. We all see each other. We're hearing each other. And I want to thank the voters who submitted questions. We were not able to get to all of them tonight, but you have all indicated that you are accessible. And if people have more questions for you, I'm sure they know how to find you. So I will remind people that for the select board, there is an uncontested seat. Clyde Carson is running for a 3-year term. We did not invite him here tonight because it's uncontested. And for the 1-year term, the other candidate, Jody Sloan, has withdrawn. So when you see your ballot, you will see Mr. Bauer and Jody Sloan on it, but Jody Sloan has withdrawn. So we thank Mr. Bauer for coming to this forum tonight. And I just want to make that very clear to the voters. Reminder, you can vote on Tuesday, March 9th from 7 to 7 at the Warner Town Hall. Please wear a mask. If you cannot, for some reason, there will be an alternative voting set up there. And if you wish to vote absentee, you may download an absentee application from the town clerk's website or call the town clerk to get one. But all absentee ballots themselves must be received by 5 p.m. on election day. So I want to thank you all for your candid, thoughtful answers. I wish you all the best, and thank you so much for participating tonight.
Thanks,
Thank
Liz,
you.
for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.